People didn't always have water in their homes, right? So having water in your home, I really feel like it's family. It's community. It's a Friday night dinner with your friends or a birthday party with your kids. It's waking up in the middle of the night and handing your 2-year-old a glass of water because they're thirsty. It's all of those things.
It's the lifeblood of a community. We use it not only to fill up our glasses for water to drink, we use it for washing our clothes, for washing our bodies, and then feeding our plants and feeding our pets. It really has an effect on every part of our day.
The water company is one of those companies that kind of sits in the back of everybody's mind. You never really think about it until you need it or there's a problem or something, right?
Tomorrow, we've got a wind advisory in effect. Red flag warning. Going along hand in hand with that, you increase the winds after we haven't had really significant rain for months and months. That lowers the humidity, that north wind lowers the humidity. And so when you get that combination, all those three things coming together, that creates very high fire danger. So we've got a red flag warning in effect going into effect later on tonight through Friday morning, just saying, hey, the fire danger is going to be extra highs.
It was a normal morning, but before 7 o'clock, we knew, uh-oh, this is not good.
Me and the rest of the guys were all standing in the parking lot just kind of, looking around. It looked like it was midnight here. When we saw the big limbs coming out of the sky and stuff, I actually got a phone call from a guy one of my best friends that lives down the street, and he said, hey, your side yard's on fire. You better get home now.
I cleared the office and then went up to the corporation yard to make sure the corporation yard was cleared also. And when we went up there, in the back behind the fence was a fire. Then I said, we probably should call this in. So we called 911, said, this is PID, and we have a fire in the backyard of the corporation yard. And she said, the whole town is on fire, just get out of town.
There's so many people in full-blown panic mode. Things are lighting on fire, trees, power poles are falling over. You just knew that you just needed to get out of town.
Everything's on fire around you, and you have all your loved ones and you can't protect them. Everybody's fighting for their life trying to get out, and I had to Facebook my mom and basically say my goodbyes. I didn't know.
Can you tell me a little bit about what work for the irrigation district was sort of like before the fire? A typical day, so to speak?
It was easier. No doubt, right? So Paradise Irrigation District has 2 reservoirs. We're very lucky. We have a very active rain zone where we catch the water. We average right around 60 inches of rain a year. We've been over 100 inches some years. We catch the water in our reservoirs. From the reservoir, it runs through the water treatment plant. In the water treatment plant, we're doing 2 basic things. We're disinfecting it, which is hitting with chlorine to kill any bad bugs that'll make you sick. And then we also filter it to take any of the dirt or those bad bugs out before it goes down into our pipelines where it goes to our customers.
Most people never think about things like that. All they do is, I want some water, turn the faucet on. Hey, I got water, everything's cool. That's what most people know.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. A lot more than you'd think. It's not just from the lake to your house. We make sure that it is perfect.
That's the main point of the plant here, is to make sure that there's enough water for the people in town to drink. A side part of the plant is also to make sure that there's enough water to fight a fire in town.
Basically what we did was we established a little hub in Durham at Durham Irrigation's headquarters, and we gathered up the management group, which included myself, Mickey Rich, Bill Taylor, Jim Ladrini, and Keith O'Brien. And we talked about, okay, we need to send a crew up to even look at what's going on, because we had no idea what the situation was at that point in time. All of our communication with the treatment plant had been cut off. There was no cell coverage, there was no SCADA coverage or any of that.
And so that night, Thursday night, we made a plan. Okay, Friday morning, we're going to go back up the hill and see what's left. So Jim Ladrini, Keith O'Brien, and myself got in a truck and came up the hill. And as we were coming up the hill, we were looking at, obviously the devastation.
I'll never forget the feeling of what I saw when I came back in, the destruction. I'll never forget that. That's something you can't unsee. It isn't going to happen.
And I remember the first comment that was made when we said, okay, what does it look like? Keith O'Brien said, the whole town's gone. And I go, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. He goes, no, it's gone. Everything is gone. And that's when it really sunk in, like, oh my God, we have a massive problem on our hands. Not just from the water situation, but just from a community standpoint and just from the individuals that have lost everything, including most of our employees.
After we left the hill Friday, we sat together in Chico and devised a plan to pinch it all down to just one main running down Skyway. And we were able to get the hydrants on Skyway back up and operating so that the fire guys that were here, there were still houses that hadn't burned that were still catching on fire.
The fire department was able to use those hydrants and save some of the structures that survived. And in a way, we felt like we were doing something in the positive for that immediate action that was needed.
It was all a day-to-day deal, right? Everybody was just surviving day-to-day. And in some ways, coming to work was a break from the rest of your life being so screwed up that you didn't know what to do about it. At least here, I knew I had something that I had to go do, right? And what I feel is failure is to my family. Because they missed out on me during all that. There was nothing I could do about it.
The biggest challenge was just the mental fight that everybody had to go through of, your family's displaced, but you still have a town to take care of, and it tears your heart apart. I want to be there with my family, but I also want to get this town back in order. And, it's a weird balance that we all had to fight.
The town opened up and we had meetings with PID and PG&E and all of that. And the main focus at that time were the standing homes, to restore power and water to the standing homes, because obviously those were going to be the first ones that were occupied.
Utilities were one of the very first things that come to mind. I mean, if you don't have water, I don't care if you have power or not.
You got to think every house had a water service going to it. So it was just, it was chaos at first. Some of it was trial and error, and some of it was knowledge of the district, and some of it was just pure willingness to get this town and back up and running.
Our guides on the field, they did a great job of getting up here. They were boots on the ground, and they knew that they had to basically stop the flow before we could do any assessments. We know that we can't test water. We can't see how our tanks are doing if nothing's holding water. So being able to get our system in a place where it could eventually hold water, that was the first step.
And through that, we knew of Santa Rosa, and we knew Santa Rosa had just gone through the Tubbs fire in 2017, and that this benzene issue associated with water and fire had just come out. They discovered it months after their fire through customer complaints of smells and taste and odor issues. So we knew that it was a possibility.
And that's when Kevin and I started having the discussions about, do we have a water quality issue up here, or could we have a water quality issue up here?
The main concern was, is our water source contaminated? And we were very fortunate there where it wasn't.
With people coming home, we made the decision to not wait until we discovered whether or not we had an issue.
Even before we had any samples, we decided to make a do not boil, do not drink order on our residents. And we did it under some controversy because that's a pretty extreme water advisory. And not knowing if it was there or not there was, some people were saying, don't do it. Don't do this at this point until you know. But we decided, based on the health and safety of our customers, until we knew, we wanted to put this restriction on our water.
Warning for people living off the Paradise Irrigation District's water. Initial water quality testing confirms the presence of benzene in some areas of the Paradise Irrigation District.
I think, all in all, looking back at it, that was the best thing to do at that point until we got on top of this, until they got on top of it. But that doesn't make it easy to hear. It doesn't make it easy if you want your town to come back and people were displaced. I mean, you're living on couches, you're living on floors, you're living anywhere you can because you don't have a house. So yes, I think it was the right decision, but it was not popular.
Sometime after the first test, that's when we started reaching out to academia. So my first call was actually to Berkeley. So I called someone at Berkeley, and the woman on the phone said, if you want an expert in plumbing and contamination in plumbing, you want Andy Weldon.
My name is Andrew Welton. I'm a professor of engineering at Purdue University. It was early January, and I received an email from this person named Mickey Rich at the Paradise Irrigation District. I didn't know what the Paradise Irrigation District was, where it was, if it was a real email. And there was this one sentence that says, I heard you know something about benzene. Are you the right person?
I think I sent Andy an email at like 11 p.m. knowing that they're in Indiana. You know, I'm thinking, I don't know when I'm gonna hear back from these guys, right? Maybe a week. 10 minutes later, I've got an email back from Andy, and then we're rolling.
She explained to me that the state had concluded that benzene was the only chemical concern that they had to worry about. So I got off the phone with Mickey and I called the state engineer who was in charge of the recovery. I encouraged him to give me his lab test results because I had a hunch that it wasn't just benzene. So I looked at the data, and the way to explain it is that there's a line that goes from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. And if the line has a blip on it, that means there's a chemical. And so if it was just benzene, you would have this figure called a chromatogram, and it would just have one blip. Well, the chromatogram he sent me looked like a Christmas tree on its side. And so there were blips everywhere. So I called him back, and he pointed where benzene was, and I said, great, what's all this other stuff that's in the water? And he says, yeah, we don't know.
Well, we don't know is not an answer. We've got to know. So it was up in the air as to how this was going to work.
We were able to figure out that much of the contamination that we're seeing in the water actually came from destroyed buildings that had been basically burned, and then that material had been sucked into the water system. And then as they try to tell people to go back to their homes, it leaches the contamination out.
What we ended up having to do was do a very wide sampling of testing. And while we weren't able to determine that it's this type of pipe or that, we were able to determine a percentage. And that percentage was, I want to say, around 50%. And so ultimately, we made the decision to replace every service lateral. That last bit where the person who's building the home makes their connection to your system, that's where the contamination was.
If you do not have safe water, the property is condemned. You cannot live in it because of health and sanitation issues. So that was a very stressful time for a lot of the infrastructure professionals and elected officials, as well as the homeowners looking to come back who had standing homes.
It was probably a good 5 months before we had a solid plan. We had an initial plan, and we took that initial plan to a public meeting, and We were not very popular.
What is your schedule? You've had 5 months to do a schedule. You should have a schedule. If I was your boss, you'd be walking down the road. You've got to get a schedule.
When we first looked at this, we really thought it was going to be a 5-year project. Looking at that, because we're a gravity-fed system, that we didn't know if the contamination at the top, if it was left there and not treated, if it would move down to the bottom and contaminate the bottom of the system. Without that knowledge, we basically thought we were going to have to start at the top. If we found contamination at the top, we were going to have to rectify that contamination, either shut it off or change out the infrastructure, and then move systematically down the system. So really, I mean, the people at the top probably get water, fairly quickly. The people at the bottom were going to have to wait until the entire town was cleared before they were able to get clean water.
The direction they were going made sense. I mean, as a builder, I could see how they were looking at it and saying, yeah, that makes sense. Unfortunately, we had a whole town to put back in. And, how do we say, good for you, you're going to get water, but, it kind of sucks for you guys down here because you're just going to be whenever we get to you. That's almost like not acceptable.
3 years is not reasonable. I can't accept that.
We heard a lot of feedback on that. We heard a lot of feedback from people. You're going to kill the town. You're going to kill the rebuild. You're going to kill, a lot of the momentum that's moving. We heard a lot of people that said, we can't wait that long. That's not going to be okay with us.
Everything else is on hold until we have water. So the town is not going to come back. We're not going to have businesses and people move back with contaminated water. So it's really on your shoulders. Sorry, guys. It's your responsibility. This is your thing.
So we have these great engineering partners that we work with, Waterworks Engineering. Sammy Cater, our lead engineer at that time, he's working with Kevin and Bill Taylor and everybody at PID to think, how can we recover it any quicker? And the answer was, we can't. We can't recover it any quicker, but maybe we can do it in a different order. Maybe we can not worry about the people who are not asking for water today and focus on the people who are, because luckily, the situation is a per property problem, which really in that way helped us recover faster to the people who needed it. So it meant as soon as you pull a building permit, you're tagged and we're ready to go remedy your property.
That's when we were able to go back to the community and say, we heard you. We went back and we looked at different things, and here's the solution that we came up with. We are able to give our customers the confidence in the water system that we were not just testing for one contaminant, we were testing for a slew of contaminants. So when they got that letter that said their water was clean and clear, they knew and had confidence that we had done everything in our power to make sure that that water was clean and clear. If you can save your entire system, you are going to then be able to get people back in water and back to our goal, getting people back home as quickly as possible. When you hear of wildfires now that are going on that have water system damage or depressurization, they are using our method, not only from a water advisory standpoint, but also from a testing standpoint. So a lot of what we fought for that we felt was the right thing is now proven to be industry standard.
It really became evident to me how the work here has translated and become important. I heard recently, I believe it was the mayor of Los Angeles made a comparison to Paradise. And they said, we remedied our system in 2 months. It took Paradise 18 months. I mean, why do you think that is? When you have somebody, we did the science, right? We took that painful walk. We have refined the process. And while it's not what we wanted, at least we can take the pain that we've gone through and our community has suffered, and it can be used for good elsewhere in the world. We played a movie here for them as they saw on screen what paradise looked like right after the fire, and this land of devastation where you have people just heads down looking at what their life used to be and wondering what's next. And one of the Ukraine delegates said, after seeing that, I know that you know what it's like where we are.
Тому що ви самі стикалися з руйнуваннями.
And the more I listen and see and watch and observe here, the more I understand that whatever you experienced is pretty much the same that what we have been experiencing in Ukraine.
And that hit me big. I mean, when they first came, I did think, what could we possibly teach them? But what I know we taught them from conversations that we've had with them is it's about community, and it's about how people come together after a war, after a bombing, after a major wildfire.
This is the most destructive wildfire, the most terrible natural disaster that has occurred in Hawaii. None of us have ever experienced anything like this. Our officials, our emergency planning agencies, this is all new stuff. So that's why we knew that that was one of the best things that we could do to really assist our community, is to engage the experts from other events like this that occurred on the mainland. For example, the Camp Fire in Paradise, California, who have gone through the process of shock, trauma, recovery. And those experts actually reached out to us and offered their help.
If I don't have the answer to this, I can find somebody back in Paradise that is ready to come out and to support you and to spend as much time with your community as you need.
I don't even think we understand how many people are looking at us. I never thought in a million years that somebody across the world would be looking at us, little Paradise, for advice, to see how they can put their system back together.
Through all of this, if there's a shining light or something that we can look and say, this is something positive that came out of such a terrible, terrible disaster, it's these give backs that we're able to do to be able to support others through some of these hard times that they're going through, and give them a sense of hope that, hey, we were there, we felt like it was hopeless, but we got through it, and we're stronger for it, and that we now are able to help support other people that are in that same position. And we can go, we know, we've been there, we understand, we can get through this.
In Ukraine, this looks like that.
After the Camp Fire, the Paradise Irrigation District had a choice. They could slap a done stamp on it and say everything's fine, there's nothing to see here. Or they could buckle down and say, we're going to go through every inch of this water system to make sure that there's nothing that can harm you. The Paradise Irrigation District took the second approach. If Paradise did not take the leadership role that they did, we likely wouldn't be here today. What I mean by that is, it's easy for people to choose not to do something. And that's not how we improve health and safety as a society. I would likely still be advocating for action, but it really took a utility and a community to stand up and say, we're going to do the right thing. And has become an example of how to lead when you're affected by a disaster, how to find your way back.
I'm very proud to say that I was a part of this rebuild. Would I do it again? I'm not sure. But I'm very proud of the work that we all have done. And I am proud that when we do come out of this thing, I can tell my kids or my grandkids I took part in helping this town come back to life.
I think one thing that sometimes gets lost in disaster, especially when you're talking about a government agency or a utility, is making sure that you're protecting your employees. We worked tirelessly to try to get this district back up and running, and that takes a lot out of individuals. So those are some of the challenges too, is to make sure that we're still sensitive to that, making sure we're still sensitive to our community. There's a lot of people here that are back and they're excited to be part of Paradise, but the trauma of that day still sits with them. And we have to understand that. And that rebuilding a town after a disaster is not easy. Not easy on the utility, it's not easy on the town government, but it's definitely not easy on the citizens. And making sure that when new employees come in, they understand that you're gonna have people that are gonna have trauma, and that's okay. And sometimes they just need to be heard and listened to. And we need to do that with our employees also, is we need to step back some days and just listen and understand what they're going through and try to support them in the best way possible.
People reach out to you guys because this room is an expert in how to take those first steps towards recovery.
The dedication not only to the town and the people of Paradise, but there's a difference between working here and other places that I've worked. The dedication to each other.
We're family.
Yep.
This is my second family, right?
Uh-huh.
This is my second family. The people of Paradise are my third or fourth family. Right? So you gotta do what you gotta do for them.
The people who live here all have a pioneering spirit. Paradise is a good place to have a problem because you have so many smart, capable, and pioneering people in this place that if there's a problem that needs to be solved, bring it to Paradise. We'll get it fixed.